The job paid $1 more an hour than anywhere else in town, and it took me 3 weeks to understand why. I was 23 and I had just dropped out of community college for the second time, which is the kind of detail you put in a story so people know not to expect much from you. I needed money. Halloran's Gas and Go, out at exit 9, had a sign in the window that said night clerk wanted, and under it, in smaller letters, someone had written, "Must be okay working alone." I called the number. A man named Mr. Halloran asked me 2 questions. He asked if I had a car, and he asked if I was good at following instructions even when they didn't make sense. I said yes to both. He said I could start Friday. The guy training me was named Sully. He was maybe 60, with the kind of face that looked like it had been left out in the weather, and he moved around that little store like he'd been there longer than the building had. He showed me the register, the coffee machine, the hot dog roller that nobody ever used. He showed me how to count the drawer. And then, near the end of the night, he reached under the register and peeled up a laminated card that was taped to the underside of the counter, where a customer would never see it. The card was old. The lamination had gone soft and yellow at the corners. At the top, in block capitals, it said the night rules. I almost laughed. I thought it was a joke they played on new hires. Sully did not laugh. He tapped the card with one finger and said, "Between 3 and 4 in the morning, you read this, and you do exactly what it says. You don't have to understand it. You just have to do it." Then he looked at me for a long moment, and he said, "The ones who quit are the ones who think they're too smart for the card. So here are the rules." I read them so many times that week that I could recite them in my sleep, and some nights I still do. Rule 1. After 3 a.m., write down the license plate of every car that pulls in. But never count how many cars are in the lot. Not out loud, not on paper, not in your head. Rule 2. The security monitor shows the true number of cars. Your memory will always show fewer. If they disagree, trust the monitor, and then stop looking at it. Rule 3. If a person comes to the counter and you did not watch them drive in, they are not a customer. Don't take their money. Don't sell them anything. The restroom key is out of order. Rule 4. Between 3 and 4, you do not go outside. Not to clean the pumps, not to help anybody, not for any reason. The lot is not yours during that hour. And Rule 5, which Sully had underlined twice in pen, pressing so hard the ink had torn the paper a little. Rule 5. Never tell anyone how many cars are outside. Not a customer. Not a caller. Not the police. Saying the number out loud is the same as counting. I want to be honest with you. I thought it was nonsense. I thought Sully was a lonely old man who'd invented a ritual to make a boring job feel important. My first 3 nights alone, nothing happened. I logged plates because it was easy. I didn't count, because why would I count? There was nothing to count. The lot was empty. The highway was empty. I read a paperback and drank bad coffee and watched the sky go from black to gray. It was the 4th night that the monitor showed me something my eyes hadn't. It was maybe 3:15. I glanced up at the little screen, the way you glance at a clock, not really looking. And the lot was full. 6, 7 cars, parked at the far pumps, neat as anything. I remember my stomach doing a slow, cold turn, because I had been sitting 12 feet from the window for 2 hours and I had not heard a single engine. I hadn't seen a single set of headlights sweep across the ceiling. I stood up and I looked out the actual window, the real glass, with my own eyes. Empty. The lot was empty. I looked back at the monitor. Full. And Rule 2 arrived in my head like a hand on my shoulder. The monitor shows the true number. Your memory shows fewer. If they disagree, trust the monitor, and then stop looking. So I made myself sit back down. I made myself look at the paperback until the words stopped swimming. And I did not look at the screen again until the clock said 4. When I looked, the lot was empty on the monitor too. Whatever had been parked there was gone, and I never saw one of them leave. The polite man came the next night. He was standing at the counter when I came back from the cooler, and I hadn't heard the chime. That was the first wrong thing. The second wrong thing was that he was dry, and it had been raining since midnight, the kind of rain that soaks you crossing a parking lot. He was perfectly dry. He smiled at me and asked, very pleasantly, if he could have the key to the restroom. And I realized I had not seen him drive in. I want you to understand how hard Rule 3 is when the person is standing right in front of you, looking like anybody's uncle, asking for something so small. Every polite instinct I had wanted to hand him the key. Instead I heard my own voice say, flat and dry, sorry. Restroom's out of order. He kept smiling. He said, of course it is. Like we both knew. Like I'd passed something. I looked down to put the key back on its hook, and when I looked up he was gone. No chime. No car. The rain kept coming down on an empty lot. After that I stopped pretending the card was a joke. I started watching the way Sully must have watched, for years. And once I let myself see it, the pattern was so simple it was obscene. After 3 in the morning, cars arrived. They came without engines, without headlights, sliding into the far pumps like the lot was a slow tide coming in. By 4, the monitor would show it packed. And then, sometime before the sky went gray, they would all be gone, and not once, not one single time, did I ever see a car pull out. They didn't come for gas. They didn't come inside, as long as I followed the card. I started to think of the station the way you'd think of a bus stop at the edge of somewhere. They were waiting. And the rules weren't superstition, they were a procedure, the way a sign at a zoo is a procedure: do not tap the glass, do not feed them, do not give them your hand. The whole job, the $1 extra an hour, all of it was just somebody paying me to not tap the glass. I followed the card for 2 more weeks. And I would have followed it forever, except for the trucker. He was real. I want to be clear about that, because it matters. I watched his rig pull in at 2:40, before the hour, the brakes hissing, the whole thing rocking the windows. I watched him climb down. He bought $40 of diesel and a coffee and a sleeve of those little powder donuts, and he was friendly in the worn-out way that real night shift people are friendly, 2 strangers awake when the rest of the world is asleep. It was 3:20 by then. I'd logged 4 plates I hadn't heard arrive. The monitor, behind me, was full. And the thing is, I'd gotten careless, the way you get careless with a rule you've followed so long you forget why it's there. Somewhere in those weeks, without deciding to, I had started counting. Not on purpose. Just a number that sat in the back of my head and ticked up every time the screen filled. That night the number was 9. The trucker stirred his coffee and looked out at the dark and said, "Easy as anything, busy tonight. How many you got parked out there?" And I felt the number come up my throat like something I'd swallowed wrong. 9. It was right there. He'd asked a normal question, the most normal question in the world, and every tired, polite, human part of me wanted to just answer him. 9. Busy night. 9. Rule 5. Never tell anyone how many cars are outside. Saying the number out loud is the same as counting. I closed my mouth. I shook my head, and I made myself shrug, and I said, didn't notice. My voice came out wrong, too high. He gave me a funny look, picked up his donuts, and headed for the door, and I thought it was over. I thought I'd caught it in time. But here's the thing about a number you've been keeping in your head. You don't have to say it out loud for it to be counted. I'd been doing it for weeks. The card said never count, not out loud, not on paper, not in your head, and I'd broken that part so quietly I hadn't even noticed I was breaking it. The chime went off as the trucker left. And then, a second later, it went off again. By itself. The door opening on nothing, on no one, on the cold wet smell of the lot coming inside. I looked at the monitor. 9 cars. I'd been right. And in the bottom corner of the screen, walking across the lot toward the doors, unhurried, was a 10th thing that had not driven in, that the card had no rule for, because the card assumed you'd never get this far. The card was still taped under the register where Sully left it. I'm looking at it right now. I've read every rule 100 times tonight, looking for the one that tells you what to do after you've already counted. After it already knows you've seen it. There isn't one. So I'm doing the only thing I can think of. I'm counting again, out loud this time, on purpose, because if saying the number is the same as seeing them, then I want to see all of them. I want to know exactly how many are coming. 1. 2. 3. The chime keeps going. 4. 5. If you're ever out past exit 9, and the sign in the window says they're hiring, and it pays $1 more than it should, keep driving. And whatever you do, don't count the cars. There's a new story here every night, if you can sleep after this one. 6. 7.